Hello, my darling.
Hello, my darling.
A full yellow moon is obscured by clouds and the tops of trees. Aaron stands in a corral in front of a horse stall. Yellow light warms the wraparound porch of a large two-story house. A woman glances at Lutz. She places her pass in the hand of the child next to her. She kneels and kisses her. Lutz takes the girl's hand. The woman's chin quivers, her eyes fill. Fingers trace a raised line map with braille from the top to the bottom.
My destination, Portugal.
A young woman lies on a bed on her stomach. Her brown hair is pulled in a ponytail. The balloon floats past another sign that points to the right. It says armadillo. The mouse pulls the banana. The giraffe steps on the string. The mouse tugs. They performed live together only once more, on the rooftop of their offices in central London. Savile Row, 1969.
Don't let me down.
The dance begins. 7 women in long white backless dresses to the left, and 2 couples on the right. The women and the corps de ballet are on point as they move in unison, lifting their arms above their heads and turning together. The bridge goes out of focus and dissolves into a gray haze. Drops of red and black ink spread across water's surface, billowing into faint clouds of diluted color. Thin, rough brushstrokes appear, slowly forming a handwritten title, States of Grace.
Woman of her word.
That's lovely. Oh, I like the way you said that.
What
That's
a voice.
perfect.
You could hear the voice right now. And it goes with the heart because she has one word.
Oh.
Media accessibility consultant and public speaker, a disability advocate and philanthropist. She has voiced over 80 films,
Correct.
including The Blind Boys of Alabama, Becoming Bulletproof, Cinemability, Pavarotti, The Beatles, The Touring Years. Look at these names. The Bee Gees documentary, How Do You Mend a Broken Heart? Well, I know how you mend it with this woman today. Michele Spitz, woman of her word. Michele, my friend.
My friend. What a beautiful introduction. Thank you, David. That's beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. And talk about beautiful. Look at you.
Oh, too sweet.
So, a lot of people will say who are watching this from Performing Arts Studio West, the word of the day, or one of the many words of the day, is philanthropist. What is, for someone who doesn't know, what is a philanthropist?
So philanthropist, comes in all shapes and sizes, I would say. Philanthropy can be giving back in some way, shape, or form, and it can be monetary. It can be by your time and your heart and what you choose to give back. And I've always said, when you land on planet Earth and your tushy hits the pan, you are given the gift of life and you have a responsibility to give back. And it can be in the smallest ways, in the biggest ways, but as long as you find a way to give back. And that is really my model in life. If it's a lemonade stand and there's 2 girls behind that lemonade stand, or 2 boys, or what have you, and they're making some money and they're going to give that money to a cause that means something to them, that's philanthropy to me. And anything else, many ways that this can happen. I do it in my own way. And I have developed that over years, and I have redirected it over years. In my particular case, my voice is philanthropic in itself. It's in terms of my voice that I donate to narrate films for the blind, the money that I give to underwrite programs for people with disabilities in the arts, or seniors or veterans, underserved communities, so they can participate in the arts, whether as an artist, behind the stage, off the stage, in front of the camera, behind the camera, anything that makes them happy, that they want to be involved in. And the arts are the healers in my world. And for me, I'm a culture vulture. I want everybody under the sun who would like to participate in the world of arts and culture to be able to without any limitations whatsoever. So my goal is to make sure that happens either on my dime or with my voice, where I am able to narrate movies and make films, and I can museums and all the things I work on accessible to low vision and blind audiences.
Now,
So it's a very different way of doing things.
why? How did you? What? How did you get this? I mean, how
Oh,
did you
well.
get this heart? Where did this come from?
Oh, that's a beautiful question too. I'd have to say, I'd have to thank both my parents. My mother was a poet, and my mother had an enormous heart. My mother was constantly giving to people and very understanding of all kinds of people, really very compassionate. My father was very directed in his philanthropy, also very generous, gave to a lot of different causes, and also very humble. And that humility and that philanthropy and that generosity from both of them, I truly embrace. And that's how I live my life.
Yeah, and it shows.
Thank you.
It shows. I'm taking it in. I'm taking it in because I'm feeling, I'm seeing your parents as you describe them, and
Oh.
and it shows through you, their love, their I wouldn't say training, but their bring the way they brought you up has blossomed into what you do.
It has, and I wish they had lived long enough to see it. They didn't, but I'm sure they're seeing it from a distance. I know they'd be very proud, and they would be amazed. My mother was a movie junkie. Her father owned movie theaters in Europe for a period of time, and my father was a very big fan of opera and ballet. And my father's background has a lot of music, a lot of orchestra, a lot of musicians. There's a big lineage on his side of really established musicians that go way back. And on my mother's side, her father and her brother, actors at different times in their life. She sort of played a little bit in acting. And so really, they enjoyed the arts, but I enjoy the arts even more than they did. And so it's really interesting how all this happened. And my background is in broadcasting. So my voice is my tool, whether I'm using it in conversation or whether I'm using it in my skill set in communicating in general, or whether I'm using it to convey storytelling in my audio description when I narrate movies, and my public speaking, so that I can embrace people and that they resonate with what I'm talking about and that they feel something, rather than dictating to people what we do and how important accessibility is for everybody and equal access. I want to see if they can experience what I'm saying, and some part of them, their heart is reached and they resonate and they understand why equal share to the arts, whether they're in the facility or whether it's access to a facility or whether it is something that a blind and low vision patron or a deaf and hard of hearing patron has access to, because we all deserve to be able to experience everything and at all times, whether it is museums or movies or what have you. So it's an interesting story, but we can't help but talk about how this started, David, because it's you.
Well, me.
Yes. So can I tell the story?
You can tell the story. I do want to mention one thing that you were saying there, and it's fascinating with you in the sense that you have such a range in your voice. Mm-hmm. And when you do your voiceover work, I was listening to you and I felt like I was sitting in a big cushy chair and very focused. You capture people with your voice, yet it's sort of like you feel safe with you.
Oh, that's such a beautiful thing. What a lovely, that's a very lovely comment. So I don't hear it the way everybody does because I'm the person doing it, right? Many people tell me that my voice is very soothing and very comforting to them. And when you say safe, I align that with comforting and soothing also. The person I do most of my work with who directs me He's always, from the moment he started with me 5 years, he said, 5 years ago, he had been introduced to me and he was directing me. And he said, I don't think I've ever heard a voice quite as mellifluous as yours. And I thought, mellifluous. And I've heard melodious, I've heard mellifluous, I've heard all kinds of things. And so if that is what I impart, and that I'm invested in what storytelling I'm telling you, because I have a very big responsibility. For a person that doesn't have their full vision, they are depending on me to create in an audio format, painting a picture with words, and they have to trust me that what I'm telling them is what they aren't seeing, so that they can assimilate what they're hearing and then what I'm describing, and they're envisioning the entire picture at once. So I can't afford to not convey it with all my heart and with as much accuracy as I can, but also not to interfere with the story itself or the content. I need to just be that secondary audio, and I need to complement the content. And that's what I do. I go into a zone. Cliff has always said that too. We just had a conversation today. I just finished Crutch and I finished Not Going Quietly. And he said, I listen to you and I watch you, and you go into the studio and you go somewhere and you go into a zone and you're extremely focused. And it's like this incredible space that you create. And I think it's because I care so much about what I do that I want to honor it. I want to honor those that are in the story. I want to honor those that created that story, the filmmakers, the subjects of my film. And I'm so lucky because 80% of the time I get to meet them. I get to meet subjects in my film at film festivals, or I get to meet my filmmakers.
Oh, you're a people person.
I'm not only a people person, I'm a collector and a connector. I always say you're pearls on my strand, and my strand keeps doubling and tripling, and all these pearls and these extraordinary human beings, I want to collect you, and I want to connect you, because we get to do more when we know each other, and good people know good people.
Yes. And another word of the day, another word of the day is how do you say it?
Mellifluous. Mellifluous.
Look that up. That is your homework assignment for the night, if you don't know what that word means.
I didn't know when he told me. I had to look it up. I should know. Now I've heard it so many times, of course I know. Yeah. But you know, it's a lovely commentary. And I'm so glad when you say safe, because that means a lot to me. I actually use that word myself sometimes with certain friends. I'll say, you know, when I get to hug you or I'm near you, I feel like it's a safe landing. And that, if somebody thinks and feels that I make them feel that way, I don't think there's any greater gift you just gave me.
Well, it's true. I mean, I'm sitting here listening to that voice, and you know, I mean, you have it. Now, you were saying, how did you get started in this?
Oh, David Zimmerman. So it started with another friend of mine. I was in a completely different industry. I was in marketing for real estate for 25 years. I have my degree in broadcasting. I did not really use it. And I went in another direction, like many of us do, until one day, a very close family friend of mine said, you know, what is it you'd really like to do with your life? I said, it's not this, that's for sure. It's not marketing. It's not real estate. I fell into that because I was involved with someone I was going to be married to, and I started working with him. I said, you know, I really wish I used my voice. It is my gift. And I don't know, it's probably too late in life. Well, at the time, I was 49. I think I was 49. I know from that, maybe about 48, I started traveling back to LA from San Francisco, and I started voice lessons. And I had no idea what I wanted to do with it. And I just went with it. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. And I did it for about a year. And then all of a sudden, she introduced me to another woman who does training for dialect. She's a dialect coach to Kate Blanchett, so on and so forth. And she's incredible. She's been around for a long time. And she found my voice sort of intriguing, but no one talked about audio description until David Zimmerman, who, of course, we should tell them we've known each other for a long time. We're friends.
I know that guy. Who? David Zimmerman?
Yeah. David Zimmerman is responsible for a very unique experience I shared. So David, I've been going to see David's classes, and I was fascinated by the work that you did, which inspired much of my philanthropy in terms of supporting, you know, all these different individuals who want to be in the arts. And you really were a role model for me. And at which point you alarmed me and told me I needed to stay in Los Angeles longer than I should, and that I need to meet somebody that you don't know a whole lot about, but his name's Mark Bovey, and that he was with Universal Studios for 25 years. And at the age of 50, he decided he was going to retire and go into accessible film, of which at the time I knew nothing of. What is accessible film? Well, everyone and their mother asked me that now. And in those days, I was them, right? And then we went and had lunch together, didn't we, David? And Mark Bovey was a very intriguing, unique man, and kind of high energy all over. I didn't quite know what to make of it. And I thought, I don't know what this man's talking about, but okay. And then you got me in a hot mess. And I'm kidding. And then Mark Bovey said, I wonder if you'd come with me to Northridge. I want you to meet a blind proprietor of a business where they create audio description for film and television. And I'd like you to audition for them. I said, for what? What the heck is that? And I got in that car. I took a big risk. And it was the beginning of my entire incredible career I have now. And I went in and I auditioned, and I met Joanne Dean at the same time. She was photographing the audition or filming it, what have you. And I met Rick Boggs, and he said, you have a very good voice. This might, suit you very well. And then it turned out that Mark Bovey was creating a film panel, right, and there was a short film, and it was going to win my hero. It was like a hero project. And he asked me if I would consider narrating that, and I did. And then the panel was a full-length film called Driving Blind, where both brothers had an eye disease where they potentially could lose their vision altogether, of which one has now and the other has not. He's actually an editor for the Housewives of Beverly Hills. Yeah. And they didn't have the finances to pay for someone to audio describe Driving Blind, and they wanted to premiere it on a film in San Pedro, I think San Pedro Film Festival or something like that. And fast forward, I spent 4 hours in the studio. I narrated that entire film. I funded it, and I walked out, and I've always told everybody else, I claim it till the day I die. Yeah. I literally had a sensation from head to toe. I had goosebumps when I walked out. It was like the universe had wrapped this juicy red bow around me super tight and said, this is why you're on planet Earth. And I changed my entire life from that day forward. And 80 plus projects later, underwriting audio description for all these projects and doing what I do, my whole life changed. And I traveled from coast to coast for the last 7 years so I could understand what.
So in 7 years, you've done 80 projects.
Yeah, 7.5 years, of which 80% I funded the audio description for, and I produced.
Well, I remember going to that screening and hearing of that movie, Driving Blind.
You did?
Yes.
I wasn't there.
You weren't there?
Oh, no.
Well, it felt like you were there because I was listening to your voice.
I never knew that, David.
I did. I went to, I think it was San Pedro.
It was San Pedro.
Yes, I remember the older theater that we went in, and it was great. And I met. Yes.
You met the gentleman.
I did. It was what a wonderful film.
Yeah, it is a wonderful film, and it ended up going on Canadian television on AMI. And the money they raise from anything they give back to their research for their condition. And we've stayed in touch. Todd Purvis is his name, and Todd and I have stayed in touch for years. And to meet Todd Purvis, everybody I get to have lunch with, or I'll ask them to get together. And the most extraordinary moments of my life are often when I've worked on films about disability subject matters, and they end up in film festivals or what have you. And I get to finally meet the subject of the film. I'll show up at a film festival, and I may have already met the filmmaker, but not the subjects, or maybe not either. And I'll show up, and I just, my whole heart, and I get teary-eyed, and I get to walk up to these people and say, thank you so much for letting me tell your story. Thank you for letting me share the story with blind and low vision patrons who will equally experience and love it the way I did. And there is a magic to that moment when it's like a gift box. Yeah. It's like the lid on the gift box when I finally get to meet them, because they're such wonderful people. I've met the most extraordinary people over the past 7.5 years. Most extraordinary.
For those, you've explained it, but to say it in a sentence or two, what is audio description?
So audio description is a secondary audio track that more typically is pre-recorded in a studio. And what happens is any type of a film where there is dialogue, there are natural organic pauses between dialogue. And a person who has low vision would be, for example, in a movie theater or at home or watching television, and they would be listening to the dialogue, but the visual content and the natural pauses, there is nothing there for them. It's vacant. And so what we do is we time code. I hire script writers. It's very laborious. It takes maybe 9 to 10 hours to write a script for a 2-hour film. They are time coding it organically between pauses. We are then quality controlling, coming back, placing it, looking at it with the film, editing what that script will be. We then give it to our filmmaker for them to look at it, whether or not that script is accurate portrayal of what they have created. Have we identified people accurately? If there's text on screen, for example, it could be any type of a film like the Bee Gees. And in 1970, the Bee Gees performed at the Cow Palace, la, la, la. You wouldn't be hearing them say that. You might hear, yay, in the crowds, but you won't know where they are. And text on screen, someone like with me would say, 1975 Cow Palace, Bee Gees perform. Okay, and that would be naturally right between dialogue.
And I like how you say naturally, because even the way you said it, it does it, but it doesn't get in the way of the experience.
Of the film, of the content. No. And if it's done very well, David, if it's done very well and time coded very well, and the script is written very well, and you voice it with the right tone and you don't interfere with it, but you deliver it in a way where it's very complimentary, like I said earlier, it can be beautiful. I recently worked on a wonderful film, Tenzin Gyatso, which is the documentary about the Dalai Lama. And I must tell you, it's an extraordinary film, probably one of the most luscious audio described films I've worked on. There is so much visual content all over the world, and the Dalai Lama and what he's doing and what's happening and the text on screen and where are we in the world? Are we in Tibet? Are we in China? Are we at his home, his original home? The prayers, what he's doing. Oh, even the way his hands are when he's praying. I'm describing every detail, colors, clothing, setting, body movements, facial expressions. But my goal and my job is not to have anyone told how to feel, what it is. We are letting you arrive at it. So instead of saying, he looked terribly unhappy, we say, his mouth turned down and a tear dropped from his eye. And then someone can decide, is that sad? They decide. We're not here to tell you. So this is how it works. And then that is at which point, once I go in the studio, it usually takes me about 2 to 3 hours. When I have the script, it's been finalized, it's been signed off on. I go in the studio. I've watched the film very carefully, and I'm audio describing against the film in terms of what my knowledge is of it. And sometimes the film might be up, sometimes it's not, depends on where I am and what I'm doing, but I'm always studying the film very intently. And when I'm done, it goes back to the editing room out of the studio, and then it is edited and it is placed carefully between dialogue. It's leveled out in sound. And for example, it'll end up on Netflix or Hulu, or you'll go to the movie theater and a person who has low vision will go and borrow a headset from the front, and they'll wear a headset, and in their headset, they'll hear the track of the film, and they'll also hear me in between the track. And then a person who has low hearing, hard of hearing or deaf, will have a captioning bar, and a captioning bar will sit on the armrest, and then the captioning bar will be here on a sort of a rod, and the captions will be going right in front of them.
And this is in many theaters?
This is all theaters by law are mandated to have a certain number of headsets for hard of hearing. And well, hard of hearing is one thing. Hard of hearing, there are headsets where they both have audio description and hard of hearing. So the hard of hearing means someone has low hearing, diminished hearing, and they could enhanced hearing would be the headset. Also, the headset is for people who have no vision and hear my narration track. For people that are completely deaf, they are having or rather, they want the captions, okay, then they use the captioning bar. There's Google Glasses, there's apps now on telephones for all of this that you can bring in. There's all kinds of things. But basically, the bottom line is this, that most people know about captions for hard of hearing and deaf. You'll see captions on your television, you turn it on in your secondary audio program, you'll watch it on CNN or gosh knows whatever you're watching. And it's similar to that. But for many years, captions have been more understood and more readily available, whereas audio description, while it existed, was not as available. So movie theaters are mandated to have the equipment. And now very large percentage of films that come out are audio described in caption, and they should both be with every media piece. It shouldn't be just captions or just audio description. It's a pair. I always say it's a pair. And I furthermore tell people that many filmmakers are very excited about international distribution, and they can't wait for their films to get to foreign countries, and oh my God. But we have two other languages that are inherent to our native language, and we are overlooking them sometimes. And those are languages for the hard of hearing and deaf and the low vision and blind, which is captions and audio description. So maybe we ought to consider those first before we think about foreign languages.
Now I'm gonna be, for this moment,
Yeah.
devil's advocate kind of thing,
Okay.
and say, when these people say, oh, well, why should I do this? What is it, the investment? What is the investment for me?
So the investment's very easy, and I get that question all the time. I do a lot of public speaking. So people could wait and see if they get distribution, and Netflix will automatically add audio description, or in most cases, Hulu, HBO Max. Now my Bee Gees film is on HBO Max. The idea is this: many films' trajectory take various routes. Okay. Some often start at a film festival like Sundance, and they get distribution as soon as it's screened at Sundance. There are voters who are voting for those films, getting awards, South by Southwest. I know for a fact that Sundance now, for its second year, is now using audio description, never been used in a festival before. South by Southwest is doing the same thing. There's another film festival, which the name escapes me right now. It is equal access from the moment the film goes out the gate, meaning that festivals, education, that film should go out with captions. Captions are mandatory now. So the captions and the audio description should be part of that journey, wherever it goes. And if you get distribution, you also want to say, I have the audio description as well. Please attach it to my media. And by the way, not only are you going to experience it possibly on television, possibly on streaming, digital media, it also is on airplanes, it's on cruise ships. It goes in many, many directions, educational outlets, a lot of KQED, a lot of different ways. So it should be there, because if it's a line in your budget that's already been paid for, you received a grant from someone like me, you've been gifted this. And we are gifting something that low vision and blind patrons should already have access to. Right. It should be there already, but it isn't always. And, independent films don't always get it, or not every film gets distribution, but why shouldn't everyone be able to experience somebody's beautiful artistry in their work? So that's why we do this. And really, wherever it goes, it should be accessible to everybody. Doesn't matter where it goes, as long as it goes and everybody gets to experience it. And that's how I see it. And that's what I propose to people. But I also, I educate people. I take my filmmakers on a journey with me. Many are, oh, what's this? Oh, I didn't know about it. And they get a grant from me, not knowing they're getting one. Like NIWIFT, I create a grant, which was never in place. I sit on a panel. I've done it for now, 5 years? And we pick a disability film. Many are submitted, and it's a Lorene Arbus grant. They get a finishing film grant. And I added the captioning and an audio description grant. I thought, wait a minute. We have a film about disability getting awarded a finishing film grant. We need to tell them about captions and audio description, because this is a film about disability. And we want other disabilities to have access to a film about disability. But we also want people who don't have their vision to have access to every type of media, not just disability, but disability, undoubtedly, that's the right thing to do. So I'm in my 5th or 6th year of that now. And basically they receive a grant from me, but many of them, even though they're doing a film about a disability subject, have no idea what audio description is.
Right.
And they'll say, I'm sorry, what is this? And I thought, well, you're going to go on a new journey with me. And I take them through the journey. I teach them what it is. I have them experience it with me. And I want them to teach their fellow filmmakers and colleagues and talk about it. So more of us are learning about it. And by the time they're done with me, they also know that I'm going to help them get it to distribution. I'm going to make phone calls if I have to their distributors. I'm going to call the network. I'm going to do whatever I can to be sure that audio description gets to the designated audience. And so I'm along for the ride. And if they come back to me a year later and say, I just got distribution on PBS, I'm going to send it to my engineer editor. I'm going to get it cut down and I'm going to get it audio described to the specs that are needed.
You know, this couple words keep on going in my head. Thinking, I know this is, I'm sound effects man. And one of them is focus. Your focus is amazing. And as you know, as we go through life, we meet people who we are the teacher at times and they're the student, and then it just somehow morphs into they're the teacher and you're the student, and sometimes it's both. You know, you're both at the same time. So I'm hearing this and seeing your focus makes me see the doors open for me. Sometimes we feel like, oh, how do I get to the next, you know, you're the doors. So I'm hearing you today and I'm like going, wow, I'm seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. And the other word that was swirling around is passion. I see it in you, and you've been describing how it is in your work and in your life.
Yeah. And a lot of people, another word, mellifluous comes up a lot, and the other word is palpable. People will say my passion is unbelievably palpable. So really, nobody really expresses my passion the way I do. That's why when I do a lot of public speaking, I'm invested. I'm very invested in this. I'm heartfelt and I'm invested. This is not a job to me. This is a cause. And I have a large responsibility to enlighten people that this is something that's important and we need to consider it. And, you know, I'm at the stage of my career, because I've been doing this for so long, that people will say to me, well, what else could you do? And so my response to that is I'm often in public places, or I'm on an airplane traveling all the time for my work. And people will say to me automatically, you use your voice, don't you, for your career? And my response is, yes, I do. What do you do? I said, well, do you have about 10 minutes, 15 minutes? I said, this is going to take a little while, and I'll describe what I do. And it's fascinating because 90% of the people get closer to me. They actually move in towards me because they cannot believe they didn't know this. They can't believe what this is. And they are so deeply moved and sort of enchanted. And they'll say to me,
a whole new world.
Yes. And they'll say to me, which is very interesting, you must sleep really well at night. And I respond, do I? Because my brain is working 24/7 and I do a lot of work very late at night. And I don't go to bed till very late, actually. Some of my biggest ideas come late at night.
Do you think that's the Aquarian in you?
Oh, that could be like you. Could very well be. It's the heart. The heart is pumping and working and passionate. And my thought is that I have enlightened many people in the media industry, in the museum industry, in the arts industry. What I feel is missing, and I want to be part of, is I want audio description to be known by all people. It's newsworthy. Most people you talk to will know what captions are. They don't know what audio description is. Everybody knows somebody that knows somebody who has low vision, hard of hearing, deaf, blind. Everybody knows somebody. And this should be common knowledge. So my next trajectory, in addition to what I already do, because I won't be giving up anything.
Yeah. I want to jump on
that message.
I want to jump on that in the sense too, as everybody knows somebody, and this just went into my thoughts. And at any time, we could all be in that situation.
Yes, and I try not to say that, David, because that is and I respect that. I know a lot of people do that. I stay away from that because, first of all, I think that's frightening to people. And
Yeah.
to say to people, well, you could be that person one day. That is not the way to enlighten people.
Right.
It's an interesting commentary. I would like to say that we all know people that have needs and they change over a lifetime. And that's all.
Yeah.
We don't need to threaten people about what could happen to them. I understand it, but it's not a conversation as an advocate. I don't use that kind of dialogue. I know a lot of activists do, but I choose not to. I'm not here to slap anybody on the hand. I'm not here to force them into a thought process. I'm here to enlighten you and embrace you. And I want to use my humility and my knowledge and my experience and my voice to raise the bar. And so it's my perspective I come from. I want to stay on the very optimistic, positive perspective because that is the healthiest, I feel. But I understand that other commentary. It's just not the commentary I use.
Well, I hear it. I mean, I hear it. And it's also, seeing as I get older and every year something else
changes. Right. And that's true. And you have a mother who's 95. Her hearing is diminished.
And sometimes I go, huh? So I think about that for myself. So I that's when I go there too. And I do it. I don't do it. And I see what you're saying too is the threatening. But for me, it's like acceptance and also the knowledge that there is that cushion of people like you helping to have this other availability for all people.
And listen, the other thing is there are perfectly able-bodied people who like to listen to audio description. English is a second language, and they like to hear English and audio description because it fills in things they didn't notice.
Look at
audio.
audiobooks.
Well, and Netflix has actually noted it as in cases of audio movies. You could be cooking and you like a movie and you don't have time to watch it, but you're listening to me narrate what you can't see and you're busy making your pasta. Oh, is that what that? Oh, yes, I get it.
So and they're probably saying, "Hey, isn't that Michele Spitz?"
but seriously, I want to say it's for everybody. And we all live, we go through things, we change, our bodies change. It's a universal access to the arts and to culture. And I think we need to, I want to look at it more universally, more globally, and more holistically. And so I did a panel recently when I did my panel for Sundance.
Yeah.
And I spoke to each one, I curated it. I did it with respectability. I chose the panelists, 2 were already in place. I chose the remainder and I carefully chose them. And I had about a half-hour conversation with each of them before the panel. And I said to every single one of them, nothing negative on this panel, nothing negative, all positive, and every reason that people should believe and want to embrace and incorporate audio description, not one reason not to. And that's my model. And it was very powerful. That was a really wonderful model to follow. So instead of complaining and kvetching and this and that and pointing fingers, well, they don't this and oh my God, it's more, this is what it does for us. This is how we do it. This is what we get out of it. We're here to serve.
Ooh, my next question was, what brings you the most joy in your life? But I'm seeing it, everything you're talking about, but what brings you the most joy?
I would say this has been the happiest time of my life. The most fulfilling time of my life have been the last 7.5 years. I would never have imagined that I would have studied audio, I would have studied voiceovers and I went in another direction and that I would arrive back full circle, but not only it just as a voice, but a voice for the eyes that can't see, a voice that has such cause and that I have this gift and this honor to do this work and meet the most extraordinary people like yourself. There is no greater gift. This is it. And I just want to make it bigger and better. And I love meeting people and I love knowing people. And it just has expanded my life and my perception and the lens in which I look through at the world and how I internalize things and how I view the world. And it really sets a precedence of inclusivity and devotion
Mm.
and bringing us all together, not separating us and pulling us apart. We're meant to come together.
Not just your voice, but the words that flow out of you is, again, I don't know. I was going to say like butter. But it's like it's that soothing. It's that I see my little brain cells going, because it's like, wow, what language. You have such control and of your language, but it's not even control of it. It just flows. It's
But
like music.
it's like, well, then you can use the other word, melodious, as they would call me, melodious and mellifluous. It's like a melody, but I've always said I'm a singer. So first, I'm a singer, right? I don't perform anymore. I used to perform. So music is my heart. Life is music to me. So when I do my voicing and audio description, when I'm speaking, it's a melody. There's a melody there. There's a rhythm. And that's how I connect to the world. And that's really part of what I do. So depending on who I'm speaking to, depending on what I'm talking about, I connect. And that's how I connect.
You know what came to my mind now too was we have several people at Performing Arts Studio West and Meet the Biz who are animators.
Yeah.
And voiceover artists, and some are doing it and some want to get into it.
Yeah,
of
course.
Two things that came to my mind was how do you get into voiceover? And the second part is, do you ever, if a student comes up to you and say, I love your voice, I have this 5-minute animation cartoon that I did, what do you, how do they get out? How do they hire you to come in and do their 5-minute short or something?
Yeah. Well, there's a number of things here. So I teach the Respectability Audio Description Lab. I'm going on my 3rd year, I think. And so, as you have done the lab, and, we have about 30 students that are in their career track in media. And what I do is, and I did it with Lights, Camera, Access 2.0 last year. So my feeling is this, I'm going to comment on a couple of things here. Okay. Voiceover is part of it. There are skill sets across the board here connected with audio description in my field. And I believe that there are many areas, depending on what your skill set is, where you might find that you like it or resonate with it. You might like to write audio description. You might like to time code it. You might like to story tell it. You might be a good engineer. You might be a good editor. You might be a good QC person and have low vision or blind, and you want to QC scripts against a movie to see if we've told you it the way we should be telling it to you. You might want to voice content. There are many ways to do this. Okay. You might want to be an advocate for it. You might want to do impact campaigns. We need people doing impact campaigns and doing PR around this. I believe there are certain things that I'm looking at in terms of fellowships, and I want to create fellowships where audio description and accessibility is built into the fellowship, and awareness is built into that, building up the awareness and the inclusion and the access. So I believe this is an area that's not quite tapped into yet, which I'm looking at as a philanthropist. But as far as people that want a voice, you can certainly, you could certainly contact the American Council for the Blind. Joel Snyder teaches twice a year. He has his retreats, of which I underwrite. This year, 2 students with disabilities to attend, so they don't have to pay the tuition. I have committed to 3 years. And this year there were 2 students with disabilities, and they had so many people applying, they ended up having to give 2 additional ones. And I believe how many days it is, I can't recall how many days it runs. And Joel Snyder teaches you about audio description opportunities. Okay, so that's one thing. And I committed to 3 years for that. So that's one area to learn about it. There are retreats that take place that you can do remotely and study audio description for live theater, for museums, for film, for television, because description comes in place for live theater also. And usually there's a live describer sitting up in the, the roof somewhere, and someone's got a headset on downstairs and don't have their vision, and they're listening to someone upstairs who is a different skill set to live describe the sets, the costumes, the movements, what's happening between natural pauses of dialogue. Okay, so There are ways to learn about it first. You need to learn the skill set. You need to understand this unique animal that it is. It's a unique animal in of itself, audio description. If someone had a piece of media, there are people that are donating their time to do short pieces. Someone can call me, depending on what it is, or I can redirect it somewhere. NIWIF takes films about disability. As you know, they submit them, and one film gets a grant, and you might be one of those people that gets my grant that goes with it with Lorraine Orbis. Real Abilities. If you get into Real Abilities and you submitted a short animated piece, they have grants that come into place to get it audio described. That happens. I do audio description for them. I give several grants a year to them, and they have other people that help do that. They don't have people that are voicing it and giving the grant. They have people that are funding the grants, and then they subcontract the audio description. So Real Abilities might do it for you. Okay. So depending on where you are and what it is. And I do education. I've done education. Good Night Gorilla. That's on the website, David, right? And
which is amazing website. You have one of the most amazing websites I've ever seen.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm also now trying to incorporate full accessibility, and that's a big, that's something to endure. It's costly, and it's a lot of work right now, but I've been changing the website and adding, and it's very thorough. But I'm involved in multiple disability film festivals. I'm involved in films that are not about disabilities. And thank you to David for introducing me to Jeannie Festa with White Horse Pictures, because from that wonderful introduction, once again, David is responsible for this. I ended up doing the Beatles. I audio described. They had never done audio description before. I ended up doing Pavarotti, and I recently finished the Bee Gees, which is on HBO Max. And I produced, narrated, and funded all of those. And Jeannie is, should I say, very invested in audio description as part of her work. And I think she has been converted, and I have converted. That's my goal. I will convert people that didn't know about it.
I so identify with your pearls kind of thing, how you bring you
sure do
at people, because I love that. I love people, especially good people.
And they love you, and they love David. Everyone loves David.
Well, and when you're saying, I seriously, when you say, David's, sometimes I make fun of you, David Zimmerman, but sometimes you say David, and I'll go, oh, that's me, because I don't think about it. I just do it.
You just do it.
It's just a joy. And that's where I think we really connect about the, doing what we love in life.
And making a big impact, making an impact in a big way. How often do people get to do work that actually fulfills something so deep within them beyond a job?
And it's such a blessing to find that in your life.
That's my point.
Some people go throughout their life and they're like, they have this certain vision of what their life was supposed to be, and they miss out on the magic
That's correct. And yet at the same time, we have to be realistic about that. So I'm a realist at the same time. Right. I like to dream, I like to fantasize, and I like to have my feet on the ground, but my arms are up in the skies also at the same time. I'm reaching up for a whole lot more, and I'm also anchored into the earth. And that perspective is one of which there are people that are doing jobs because they have to do jobs, and these are their skill sets, and they should be honored for their skill sets. There are people that are lucky to do a job that fulfills a passion, a cause. And if for some reason their job is not that, they have the rest of their life to donate or give their time to something that does fulfill their heart. And they can do it a different way. It doesn't have to be your job. If you have an extra hour a month, an extra hour a week, or you have several, find something that does. And then you'll fulfill that part of yourself. It doesn't always happen organically in our real world that way. You're blessed, I'm blessed. And I sit in gratitude for that every day of my life, that I was given this opportunity.
What keeps you anchored?
It's never too late.
What keeps you anchored?
This work keeps me anchored because I found my cause, even though it was late in life at 49. That's late in life. And it doesn't matter. I found it. And that's the gift. and I choose how long I want to do this, or I might morph into other things with it. I might expand it. Who knows what I'm going to do? It's morphed itself. I built it out. I've expanded it. I've grown with it. I've made new paths with it. I've carved new paths. I break down doors. I've broken down barriers. I knocked on doors when doors weren't open, and they opened about this much. And then I knocked on that door 2 years later, and that door opened like that. And I open now, and the door's wide open. Our doors are wide open. So those people that are watching this, and if you have a disability and you want to make your mark in this world, this is your time. There is no more beautiful, greater time in history than right now. All the doors are open. They're flying open. So step on it, step up, make it happen. This is your time. I've watched it unfold.
Woo! I love that.
It's true. It's the truth. It's the truth. So I honor those. They're the subjects that I work with in my film. So I see it every day now. It's a beautiful time in the world, and it's going to get bigger every day. The umbrella of inclusion, if you want to use the word inclusion, of diversity of all of us, whether it's sexual, whether it's disability, whether it's ethnic, whether it's ageism, whether it's body image, whatever it is, we are all part of the umbrella now. The umbrella is really something quite extraordinary, and it's going to expand further. It's going to encompass everybody. And as we go forward in the world, we all have a place at the table, and we have to take that seat at the table, and we have to embrace those sitting next to us.